What's up, everybody? This is going to be a first video on my 1990 yz125 restoration project. I'm going to kind of document the restoration of the bike. I've already started. I've gotten pretty far on cleaning up parts and stuff, but I'm going to start sort of documenting, putting it together and restoring parts, because I've noticed that there's not a lot of videos online about this specific bike, and I guess because of how old it is, and that's probably not very common. One thing to note, that the parts for this bike, they are extremely difficult to find. Most stuff like bolts and stuff like that, you can find those pretty easily. But once you get into major components like engine parts, like here, I have a crankshaft right here. This one is to my 1990 bike. Finding parts of this. Now, for the crankshaft, you can find both webs. They are in stock on most part websites. But once you get into things like clutch covers and internal clutch parts, and even motor cases, some of those, if you wanted to get them in brand new condition, they can be pretty difficult to come by. But again, I'm just going to document, along the journey of me restoring this bike. So maybe, if you're needing help with assembling anything, or just need a reference, hopefully I can help some people out. But right now, I'll just go over a couple things that I have done so far. So here are some parts that I've already cleaned up. Some of them I am going to touch up before I put on the bike. But, for now, I think that looks pretty good. They're pretty shined up. Here's your power valve cover. I like this. It's really clean and shiny and all. The brake pedal, I may powder coat that a different color, because that's a high use part. That's gonna get pretty dirty. And here's part of the motor mount. I haven't got into the water pump cover yet. I'll get to that soon. We'll go over here and look at the frame. Here we are at the frame. I've got it sitting beside my little PW80. I'm preparing this to get powder coated. I've gotten most of the paint off. It's probably about 90% done. It's just mainly just paint, up in the corners and stuff, and just small pieces all around the bike. That's going to be a pain to get off. But I found the Jasco paint remover to work best. This is okay, but it's a little thick. This is a little thinner, and I find this to work a little bit better when you're brushing it on there and all. So there's the frame. It's almost done. Let's go back over here to the motor. Here's the motor, or the cases. I've got it cleaned up for the most part. That's probably about as clean as I'm going to get it. I don't want it to look too clean, but I think that looks pretty good, like how it is now. I've still got to get something so I can sand that really flat right here. I don't want to give that an uneven finish with the sanding wheels I have here. So there's the motor case. I've still got to get inside of it. Like, there's like a little bit of residue and dust. And then afterwards, I'm going to take it and, clean it up with some soap and water to make sure I get all the little metal shavings out and all of that stuff. Here's a cover that I was experimenting. Now, this one, I was experimenting with it and spray painted it black, and it kind of bubbled up. But this one, it's trash. You can see where it cracked in several different places, and they just try to fix it with some sort of epoxy or JB weld or something. But that one's, I'll keep it, in case my good one breaks, because it'll still work. But that'll just be something I set aside. There's the gas tank. I'm gonna end up getting a new gas tank. That one is severely yellowed and all that. So I'll probably end up selling that one to fund a new gas tank. Here's the front fork shocks and the rear shock. I haven't gotten to those yet. I'm going to rebuild those, get new seals. For the red forks, I don't have anybody in my area that anodizes forks, so those will probably just get powder coated red. that should look fine. The rear shock, it just needs to be cleaned. The swing arm right here on the I want to say that's the right hand side. The right hand side, something hit it right there, and it left a pretty gnarly dent. And on the inside, it kind of caved in just a little bit, like an indent. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take a Dremel tool with a sanding wheel on it and kind of just flatten that out a little bit. Because when I'm putting new bearings in, I don't want to damage the new bearings. So here's the clutch cover I'm going to put on the bike. It's cleaned up. I may get that powder coated as well. I'm not sure yet. Let's go move on to something else. Here's the cylinder. It's not completely cleaned up yet. I sort of cleaned it up with a wire brush. It's still a pretty uneven finish, but my wire brush wore out before I could finish. This one needs to be rehoned. It's got some light, grooves in it, but it should be fine with just a rehone. Yes, we'll have that. I've got a cylinder head that needs to be surfaced or whatever. And put that on there, get a new piston, put everything in the motor, and at least the motor will be done. But I ran into a problem. Well, I was going to get my crank here rebuilt. I got this one sent in from a man in Australia, but he sent me the wrong one. This is to a 1992 yz125, and this is mine from the 90. You can see the ends here, they're different. The only reason I wanted to get a new one is because on mine, the ends here, they're bent and the thread's messed up. Not so much on this side, but mainly on this side. What I'm going to end up having to do is get the side off of this one with the good thread and put it on this one, because those are both the same. The only difference is on the 2 years, these ends are different. So once I swap those out and keep this end on there, I'm going to rebuild the crank, put a new Pro X connecting rod on there, and we should be good to go. Come back here to my part shelf. We've got my transmission and this little tray right here, keeping it out of the elements. My good cover back there needs to be cleaned up. Here is what's left of the swing arm bearings. Most of those are going to end up being replaced. I tried to save some of the good ones right here. Those are still good. I rebuilt those, new grease, put new needles in. Well, rebuilt them and put the needles back in there. Hopefully those will stand up. I know it's not recommended to do that, but I'm sort of on a small budget here. I have most of the bolts and stuff left over. I'll clean up and try to reuse those. Stuff like the brake reservoir and stuff, those will end up getting replaced. Those are pretty inexpensive. I've got in this box here all of the new transmission and crankshaft bearings, brand new in that box. Those weren't very cheap. Complete engine fastener set, nice and shiny. In this box, well, that's empty. Here's the old piston. It's surprisingly not that bad condition. Maybe just a little bit of scratch on it, but we're gonna get a new one. Up here I have the seat. I've got a new seat cover for the seat. The fork holder thing. This one hasn't been cleaned up, but the one down here, I've cleaned up a little bit. I'm gonna leave it pretty much at that. I like the way that looks. There's the brakes. To be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do about the brakes. It may come to having to get new ones. Here's my pipe over here. This actually, somebody cut the end off of it down there and welded a strange circular piece, so that's not going to work. I'm going to have to get a new one. There's the air box. That's just about it except for the plastics, and I'll go over them now. I got these plastics when I first got the bike under the intention that they would make the bike look good, because I thought the bike would already run good. So I put the stickers on them and everything, but I couldn't ever get the bike running right. The kid that sold me the bike said all I need was a carb. Well, I found it the hard way when I opened the engine, and there was a broken gear. It was rough, but I decided I would just completely redo it, and that's what I'm doing. But yeah, I guess that's everything for this video. You just give you an overview of what I've got and how far I've gotten into it, and hopefully I can help some people along the way with the other videos I'll put out on it. Well, anyway, thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.